The GEEK Files, 2026, January 17th, Burnaby. Ground effect. Airplanes and helicopters can only take off and fly with so much weight. When they're flying, the first little bit, the air gets compressed between the wing and the ground, and they can get off the ground, but they can't climb. This is called ground effect. Now, helicopters, if the load is too heavy, they never get out of ground effect. They put the load back down, you change the load. Aircraft, you can happily fly in ground effect. When we flew that screw compressor into that booster plant, the Caribou never really got above 100, 120 feet off the ground. So we were lucky because it was Alberta, it's flat. And, what do you do if you get lost in a forest in Alberta? Sit up, you fool. Yeah, no trees, so we got away with it. But if you're flying in to small lakes on floats or skis, you can land into lakes that you can't get the same load out of because you never get out of ground effect, and the trees at the end of there's not enough lake left to land, and the trees at the end of the lake pretty much give you a hard stop. So here I am at Central Air Services. I'm pretty sure it's the Friday of my first week. And Tony and I are sent in to salvage a wing of an otter. And this is what happened to the otter. Most aviation, at that time, most aviation in Canada was in the middle of nowhere. There's no scales. You're flying either drill rigs into some remote lake or an outfitter and guide and his clients into some remote lake for fishing and hunting. And these guys know that they're paying by the pound, so there's no scale. So if they can sneak a couple extra pounds onto the aircraft and get away with it, they pay less. Except, sometimes they sneak in a bit too much. And the aircraft can't take off and it runs out of lake it runs out of lake. And that's what happened to this otter. The guide snuck in too much weight. He got off the lake into ground effect and couldn't climb out, and the floats hit the bank at the far end of the lake, and the float sheared off. It's an otter, so that ripped open the fuel tanks, the trees sheared off the wings, the fuselage then plowed into a bunch of trees and burned. There's nothing left of the fuselage. Not sure if anybody died in that, because usually when that happens, when the fuselage crinkles up like that, it jams the doors and no one can get out and everyone burns to death. Welcome to Beavers, Otters, Twin Otters. So Tony and I fly in on an otter on floats, and we load up this wing. We drag the wing out of the bush and we strap it. So the bank is high enough that we just nose the aircraft right into the bank and tie it up. So we can just walk off the floats onto the bank, onto the lake, or onto the shore. Drag this wing out, drag it onto the left-hand side of the floats, because pilots like it on the left-hand side so they can lean out and look at their load. Strap it down. And I'm a fisherman. This is nothing new to me, handling stuff like this. It's why Tony and I were sent, or why I was picked to go. And Tony's looking at his watch, and he's getting paid by the hour. So Tony and I looks at me and says, "You want to go fishing?" And I go, "Sure." I figure we're going to push the otter off and just stand on a float and fish. Nope. That's not how it worked. Tony drags out a couple fishing rods, starts up the engine. Aircraft engine have two sets of plugs, and one set of plugs is more efficient than the other. So on the Twin Wasp, the front plugs are more efficient than the rear plugs. So he only puts it on the rear mag, turns on carb heat. So this engine is loping. It's and he opens up the pilot's door so he can reach into the pedals, which are connected to the rudders on the floats. And we sit there and we troll in this otter up and down the lake, trying to catch whatever fish are in the lake, if there are any fish in the lake, with this engine going tunk, 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 until Tony figures, yeah, we've wasted enough time. I've made my money for the day. And we shut the engine off, climb back in, and fly this wing out of this lake back to Sioux Lookout. Yeah, making appropriate life decisions. You don't make any money, but you get good stories.